All right, family, here we go. Incoming rant. This is the screen I get today. Artificial intelligence is playing a critical role in the preservation of the Amazon rainforest. Innovative artificial intelligence solutions are helping to preserve that Amazon rainforest. All right. Looky, here we go. Incoming rant. I'm gonna go outside for this. First of all, you remember back in the day when Windows just used to be like a graphical user interface, and it was like a piece of I don't want to say software, but it was like an operating system. You put it on your computer, Oh, it said the name of the icon for your computer was my computer. Well, yeah, it's not my computer anymore. Oh no, I paid for it, and if it breaks, I gotta get it fixed, and I gotta maintain it, and this, and that, and the other. But it's not mine anymore. It tells you right there, the icon says, this computer, not my computer. So, like, just to have that screen pop up in the first place is intrusive. I didn't want it. I didn't install it. I can't remove it. There's so many apps and shit that they're downloading onto my my computer, not this computer, my computer. And if you try to remove, good luck. You'll be all day. You have to become like IT hacker expert. You have to spend hours and hours per update trying to figure out a way to remove it. In most cases, you can't. So, well, they tell you it's my computer. Oh, I want to show you this. See if I can turn. Look at who's over here. Hello. Hello. Hi, beauty. You see who this is? Perfect timing. This is the chachalaca. Yes. He's a wild bird. Yes, he's that close to me. Like 3 meters. He's having a good time over there. Anyway, he's a beauty. Anyhow, let me see if I can turn this back around. How do I? Like. Okay, so where were we? It's always great to get distracted by nature. Okay, so let me see if I can. All right. So that's one rant in and of itself, is the fact that I can't just turn on my computer and flip the screen and press the button and access my computer. I got to interface with this, I don't know what they call it, a screensaver, some shit. I didn't want it. And that's the message that showed up today, right? Not to be confused with the message that's been showing up for the last 3 days I've been logging on. And it was a picture of a rainbow. See, they always use these pictures of nature to draw you in because it's nature and it's inspiring and it's beautiful and it's natural and we all love it, right? But then they throw these words up there on the screen. Like, tell me exactly, like if you're going to say that that's what you're doing, then can you explain that? Like, or am I just supposed to believe that AI is saving the rainforest? I don't think AI is saving the rainforest, actually, because, well, I'm just going to give one example. Like, first of all, AI is not, it's artificial intelligence. It's not going to get out there and do anything physically, actively to do anything to save anything, let alone the rainforest. But now that we're talking about these kinds of things, let's talk about which devices that we require to interface with said AI, meaning this device that I'm holding right now, for example, is good. Tablets, laptops, whatever. So if to create these devices, we need to constantly blow up mountains and extract the ore and load it into trucks and then send it through grinders and just the huge so-called fossil fuel, or the footprint, the carbon footprint that this has is ridiculous. Like, just don't. Right. But the message I was getting the other day was this picture that some guy took in Hawaii of a rainbow, and it said it's associating, don't shoot the messenger. This is not my opinion. This is not my theory. This is the theory and the opinion of a man who was, and as far as I know, is still considered, quote unquote, the smartest man who ever walked the planet Earth. Even like smarter than Plato and Socrates and all these other philosophers and things like that. And Hermes was his name, and then from there we get this thing called the Hermetic Principles. There's 7 of them, and one of them has to do with gender, and it's very clear to indicate that in this universe, in this physical 3D skin suit incarnation avatar experience that you're having in the human body in this physical plane, in this realm, that everything has a gender, and it's either male or female. And I don't know. Like I said, it's not my theory. It's the theory of Hermes. So don't argue with me about it. Go take it up with him. Of course, he's dead, but if you want to refer to some of the stuff he wrote. So let's see. It said, with this picture of the rainbow, it said, up in the upper left-hand corner, it's something like, oh gosh, I can't remember exactly the verbiage it used, but it made reference to this LGBTQXYZ123.753. I don't know what it is, but it was this big, huge, long acronym to refer to the various different types of gender confusion that this godless artificial intelligence and the communist agenda writ large is trying to shove down our throat. Because remember, if it's a sexual preference, I don't need to hear about it. I don't need to see your naked body in the street screaming how prideful and happy you are. I don't need to see what Michael Tessarian refers to as happy discontents. So deeply confused within themselves, but on the outside presenting to be prideful. So, oh yeah, and then in the center of the screen, on the screensaver, it said, Microsoft has been working since 1989. Now, I'm going to take a drink to that real quick and let you think about that year for a second, 1989. For those of us that are old enough to remember, or any of us who studied anything of the history along the timeline, 1989 is allegedly the year that the so-called Berlin Wall came down and West and East Berlin were reunited, and the so-called Cold War was over, and that communism was defeated. Excuse me, it's funny, isn't it? So 1989, that's the year. That's what they're saying on the screen. They're saying Microsoft, which is a godless communist parasitical organization, is telling us on the screensaver that it's been supporting the LGBTQYZ whatever X213 movement since 1989. Yes. Thank you for the soft disclosure. Of course, that's going to fall on deaf ears because most people weren't alive to remember what happened in 1989, let alone the ones that were. They just don't care. They was busy doing something else other than paying attention to the acts unfolding on the stage. Whew. So, Thanks, Microsoft, for telling me, for confirming what I already knew. That you're a godless, communist, parasitical. And here's just one last piece of advice from Microsoft. I would say your operating systems are dysfunctional. They are literally designed with dysfunction to allow backdoors and Trojan horses and viruses and all kinds of spyware to be downloaded on your computer, to running all kinds of apps and shit in the background that eats up your memory and makes your computer, pretty much worthless as far as a device that you're trying to use. Like, because there's only so much memory and computer processing power and stuff like that. So, basically rendering my computer, yeah. How about if you're Microsoft and you want to develop software and applications and operating systems that people can use in theory to operate their laptops and tablets and phones and things, just stick to that business and leave the LGBTQ stuff alone for now. Just focus on your mission. Don't get what we call scope creep of the mission. Just stay on target and leave the other stuff alone, because unless you get this one right, you ain't got no business getting involved in nothing else. I'm just saying. Now, in the middle of the screen, it also said something about pride and joy. That's what it said. About this rainbow, making reference to the rainbow and the gender confused crowd who likes to use the rainbow flag. Tying that association in so we can get that group consensus, that mob rule ideology. Did I mention what Michael Tsarian likes to refer to as happy discontents out in the streets? Shoving it in your face. It used to be, what was it, Pride Day or Pride, then it's Pride Week, and then it's like Pride Month, and now it's 24/7, 365, shoving it in your face. Right. So, methinks the gentleman doth protest too much, if I may quote from the play of Macbeth, Shakespeare, whoever he was. The one that's just constantly, that's probably the guilty party. That's probably the one that doesn't have any substance under the form. The one who is genuinely joyful and prideful in this case does not need to protest about it, because that's literally, if you look at the way these people get together in the streets, they block off the streets, they put up barricades. I mean, this is what you would do in theory if one were so inclined to get out into the streets and protest things like hyperinflation and life under a debt-based fiat currency system and life under a feudal system and life under a matrix of domination and control, of debt slavery and all kinds of, harvesting of our life, right? These kinds of things, right? But so, you, like, if you was protesting something political, let's say, hypothetically, what's the difference between a political gathering and these people gathering in the streets? That's a protest. So what you're doing is you're protesting. You're not proselytizing, you're not confessing, you're not expressing, but in those ways that, if I'm truly prideful and joyful, well, maybe who knows, I don't know, fill in the blank. But why does everybody got to gather in the street together? Again, methinks the gentleman doth protest too much. And I might also quote something from another book. There are a few good things in that book. It's good to read it. And I can't remember the chapter and verse, but it comes from a book called the Bible. And it says, pride goeth before the fall. So, meaning to say that what we should do if we don't want to fall on our face and fall on our sword, right? And fall, just failure, right? Fail is what they call it. Epic fail, right? If you want to avoid an epic fail, then stay humble. Stay humble. Because pride goeth before the fall. Now, I want to make a delineation here between real pride and false pride. Or I want to say, yeah, real and false. That's it, right? The bitter and the sweet with the truth and the false, right? Here we go. I'm going to just make a comparison, put this in layman's terms. Let's just say, excuse me, let me just say hypothetically, let's just confine this to the area of, like, let's say the sports, right? That's because everybody's familiar with that pretty much. Somebody by the name of, like, let's say Muhammad Ali. He's going back a few years, right? But you forgive me, these people that go into the gym and they train every day of their lives and they sacrifice all else in their life so that they can train to be the best at what it is they've chosen to do. And maybe one day they get to go into the Olympics or whatever their aspirations is, right? Or just to be called a prize fighter, to be called a champion, to receive your recognition, your whatever you get when you get these things. Let's just say, get your gloves held up in the air in the ring, and he's the champion and all this, right? And we admire people like that, right? We admire people who do go out there and make that sacrifice and do what they need to do in order to be the best at whatever it is they've chosen to be, right? It's not something that was given. It was something that was earned, right? So if, could you then see, okay, so let's just say, we'll just say Muhammad Ali. He's got his, so many prize fighter forms of recognition. Everybody knows his name. Yeah. Does he need to get dressed up and get a rent-a-crowd of a bunch of freaks of nature and march and protest through the streets about how prideful or joyful he is at the accomplishments of his life? Doesn't need to do that, because his pride and his joy and his sense of fulfillment of himself comes from, it's well-founded. It comes from all the sacrifice and the hard work that he put in to achieve that, right? So that's real. Whereas my gender that I was born into, or the gender that I want to confuse myself into believing that I am, is, I didn't really work for that. I didn't put in the devotion. I didn't go to the gym. I didn't go swim those laps. I didn't go do what I needed to do to achieve this thing that I'm telling you that I'm so joyful and prideful to share with you that I am. What did you do? Nothing. You were born that way. Or you were born that way and then you decided to make up your mind that you're not born that way and now you want to be some other gender or some combination of the genders, or I really don't know. I'm not going to split frogs' hairs on an issue that cannot pass like the scientific method based on the Hermetic principles and that which is observable in nature. So I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to leave, you don't need me to break it down for you. It's pretty obvious, if I did something to be prideful or joyful or happy or in some other way content with myself and content with my life and my life's achievements, and if it's really something worthy that the public sees, that's not why you do it. That's not why you do it. You do it for yourself. not for others, not to get the attention of others. You do it for yourself. It's a passion, right? So I just want to make that delineation using the layman's terms example of Muhammad Ali and the training that he went through and the sacrifice that he made to achieve what he got. And you don't see him out in the street acting all crazy, dressing up, naked, showing him these freaks just running everywhere and just, yeah, look at us and how how much pride we have, and look at how happy we are. And it's just, I think that's the end of the rant. Yeah. Thanks for listening. I hope it gives you something to think about. Yeah. Oh, another layman's term for the Shakespeare Macbeth play. A layman's example, right? And I know this is ancient history as well. The year 2001, between 2001 and 2003. And all of the talking heads on all the media channels, regardless of the political affiliation agenda, everybody, the president, the vice president, what was his name? Colin Powell, what was this? I forget what his job was. Everybody was like, oh yeah, Saddam Hussein is responsible for this, and Osama bin Laden is responsible for that, and so therefore we need to use, of course, we can justify starting World War III, which is, let's be honest, family, that's what happened on 9/11, 2001. That was the opening salvo of World War III, I was in the military when that happened, and I'm telling you for a fact, it was the opening of World War III, and this non-stop, the last time I checked, it was like 47 nations on the planet Earth were either under some form of attack, be that, covert or overt, conventional, unconventional, asymmetric, economic, whatever, fill in the blank. Wars going on the planet. It's all these non-stop, never-ending wars of aggression. And wars and rumors of wars. To quote that Bible book again, I think that was, or was that 1984, George Orwell? There's so much coincidence between 1984, George Orwell, and the Bible. Funny that. So, yeah, it was just repeated over and over and over and over again. And so many people around the world were in protest of this thing. No, this is not we should not go into war in Afghanistan and Iraq and all these other places. A lot of people protesting against that, but the mass consensus was won over initially because if you repeat a lie enough, the saying is, if you repeat a lie enough, it becomes the truth. Now, I would caveat that and say, if you repeat a lie enough to an undiscerning, gullible public who's ready, willing, and able to listen to an organization of government, or gubernamente, government, that's the Latin word, gubernamente, mind control, and disinterested, detached, and essentially don't want to know what's going on with their government and their black budgets and things like this. They just want to be left alone to live their life, right? But look where we are now. Look at Afghanistan, Pakistan, Iran, not so much Iran, but where else was I? Afghanistan, Pakistan, Kuwait, Iraq. Kuwait's an occupied territory, so we'll leave that off to the side. But all the wars going on everywhere, all over the planet. It's everybody is under some form of attack. All of us are under at least economic attack with this hyperinflation and the devaluation of debt-based fiat currencies and all this other stuff. But it began, on the world with the World War III began on 2011, and now here we are, however many decades later, right? And now people know. I want to say it feels like at least way more than 50%, way more than the mob rule 51% or more, right? Way more than the collective consensus, way more than the crowd, the majority of the crowd knows that 9/11 was a false flag operation. Right, that's all well and good, but what came out of those lies? We're still living under that. We're still living with that. And when I say we're living with it, I mean everybody. Look at what's going on in Palestine right now. I mean, it's just, I'm going to tell you right now for a fact, this is not, the only way that they could be executing stuff like this is because we are gullible enough to believe that a lie repeated often enough becomes the truth. So I'm just throwing this rant out there today that I'm going to say, no, I don't care how many times you repeat the lie to me. I'm never going to bite off on this LGBTQ XYZ 1 2 3 whatever it is. I don't know. I don't care. And I don't need to have it shoved in my face every day, but the fact that you are is, again, Shakespeare is relevant, people. You should try to read that if you can. And have some discernment about what it is that we believe. Okay, next rant incoming. Stay tuned. Ciao for now.